Buenas tardes, Benja.
Buenos días, Greg. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, bien.
You actually speak like a lot of Spanish.
Yo necesito platicar.
Uh, uh, but I think that have you been practicing?
I've been thinking about it more, but I haven't actually been actually practicing it.
Okay, okay.
I
I
imagine
mean,
probably give me a day or two. Like we're only gonna be there for 3 or 4 days, but like give me a day or two, and it'll flood back.
maybe we need. Are you planning to come to this all hands or
Yeah,
company? Yeah,
yeah. I'll be in Barcelona.
maybe. Yeah, that's the opportunity.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Hello Ben. Hello Ege.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello Juan.
how's it going?
All good. Are you based in San Francisco, Ege?
No, I just don't have other Zoom backgrounds configured. I don't
Maybe it's
use
just
Zoom
for
normally.
for inspiration. Okay, okay. Uh, are you in Europe,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe?
Germany.
Okay, thanks for making the time for joining today because it's not like the best time for us. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
I arranged my day like to stop earlier before, so it's fine.
Cool. Hey Ben.
Hey,
Yeah,
Um, let's get started slowly. So if we have more people joining, they are welcome, right? So is it okay if we just start? Cool. I'm going
yeah,
to
yeah.
share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's start as always reviewing together the meeting etiquette. We are going to record this meeting to share it with the community and also in our YouTube channel. But if someone in this meeting is against sharing this publicly, this session is not going to be uploaded to YouTube. Otherwise, if I don't receive any message, this will be online tomorrow. We encourage everyone to challenge any language or behavior that is harmful, not inclusive, or against our code of conduct. And we'll try to stay on mute when other people is speaking and use the Zoom reactions for us to turn to speak. And this is the agenda we have for today. A moment to review the action items of the last meeting and this topic that was added by Ege past week, but we didn't have the opportunity to speak with him. So today you are here, Ege, so we can have have this discussion. We are still on time to have more topics. So if someone has something in mind, just edit the issue, add a comment, or send me a message. So yeah, all of that will work. Let me check if we have any other comment below. No, okay, that's it. Any comments so far before getting started? Okay. Um, Reviewing the action items of the past week, this is going to be very quick, because we didn't capture any action item. The meeting was 100% dedicated to review together the proposal for a stable release development cycle when Greg did an amazing presentation. So yeah, that was the core of the presentation, and we didn't capture any action item, just continue the discussion and progress with the proposal.
A very quick
right?
question. Is it available somewhere, the presentation or the
Yeah.
YouTube recording?
Yeah, let me open it.
I mean, actually, given the importance of that session, I wonder if it might be worth even cutting down, Greg's presentation and uploading it even as a separate video, saying, the future of JSON schema, something, more prominent in the title. I think it would make it more findable, and it was a great presentation indeed.
Yeah, this is the action item. So we didn't have any action item. We actually have one. So thank you, everyone.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So this is the recording. When I share this in Slack and also in social media, basically I created a link with the right starting point. But this is not as ideal compared with what you just said, Juan. So tomorrow I will take some time to cut that section of the video and prepare like a intro frame or something to make it like look better, so we can have it in our channel and also have make some noise in social media. So yeah. So Egg, this is the recording. So and in Slack, let me see if I can find the right.
Are the slides available somewhere?
There are no slides, so it's just this issue. What this discussion, this
Yeah.
hub discussion, and basically what Greg did is just go and walk through all the content of the issue and also the some of the comments that are below. So yeah.
Even better.
It,
okay, thanks.
but I mean the recording was great, so yeah, totally worth having that video. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, since that video happened, Karen has gone through and she's listed a couple more questions that she had, and she's made some comments on some of the threads that I started. There is, I think, a slight misunderstanding that about vocabularies still being referenceable from the spec. Since we're pulling it out of the spec, it can't be included in the spec anymore. So I think there's some confusion there, but hopefully my responses have cleared that up for her. I haven't seen anything else from her yet. But there's a little bit more reading material there since last week.
Great. So it will be, I mean, Karen is the first person that did this extended feedback since you presented it. So hopefully we will have more people like sharing thoughts. So everybody is welcome. And as soon as I prepare this dedicated video and share it in Slack and social media, maybe we'll have more feedback. So Egg, if you have the time, the more people in the discussion, the better. Okay. And next topic in the agenda, if we don't have more comments regarding past week presentation on the stable release development cycle, this is your turn. Egg or egg. So I think
Again,
spelling
don't worry.
it. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, so also sorry for missing it last week. I was traveling and couldn't do it, but the presentation from Greg is actually also very relevant for me. So thanks. Yeah, so maybe before, I mean, I didn't prepare a big presentation or something like this. I have invited Ben to a session 2 weeks ago at the W3C. So yeah, for others, I am from the Web of Things working group at the W3C, where we use W3C in multiple ways. So we have also this blog post in the JSON Schema blog. And yeah, so right now we are having this kind of big discussion on resources of the specification. So a bit, I would say, similar to like JSON schema having a spec and also having a meta schema like published at the same time. And what we want to do is, as the spec develops, publish all of these resources. So we have JSON schemas, but also like examples, test cases. But the discussion 2 weeks ago was also about the ontologies and so on. I don't know how much people are familiar with these kind of terms, but basically we publish a bunch of stuff. And we want to do this really like a software development cycle, so where we publish like an alpha 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 releases as we go. And the whole question of how do we keep everything in sync becomes a rather big question. So we don't want to manually tweak all of these resources and yeah, hopefully there is no mistake and so on. Okay, so for this, I presented something. I won't go into the full detail. Oops, I can share the slide link in a bit as well. Or now. I will just paste it in the chat. There have been previous presentations on this. This, like, maybe just a word like the schemata is a word that is being used at this moment. But I wouldn't be too hung up on this. What is really happening is in the case of the thing description, we basically have so for those who don't know, this is how a thing description looks like. It's simply a JSON document, but it's actually JSON LD. So this at context has a special purpose. It's a W3C specification as well. And what we are doing in the specification, so if we actually, I don't know, go to the spec, so all of these things are all open. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. So in one example, so what you would also see that, of course, this is JSON, so we can have JSON schema to validate it. So this is one of the things we are using JSON schema for. But at the same time, since JSON schema is not a stable spec, which goes back to the presentation of Greg, we have to redefine a bunch of the same things basically from scratch. It's quite painful, but we have to do this for the W3C compliance. So basically we have to copy JSON schema draft 7, a subset of it at least in here. But this is not the part of the discussion, but at least just to say that like we are quite involved in the how JSON schema evolves and definitely support all the stable work to make it stable. But yeah, so anyway, so in the last version, what we did, since we weren't too much concerned with the versioning, we basically simply give a link so you can go there and like get the schema, get the link format will also change and so on. But we do a bunch of other things. So if you actually go here, you find a bunch of things. So let's say you got this one. So all of the terms we define, they are published separately as vocabularies. So not JSON schema vocabularies, but semantic web vocabularies, so to say. So this is, of course, one version, but if you can go for the, oops. Okay. I'll just show the other version of it, just, sorry. So that was the rendered version, but we have actually a turtle file. So this is how it looks like. I don't know if people know this much, but just to say that this is like a machine readable version of that HTML spec. So we have to maintain this at the same time, the JSON schema. So the things you're seeing here, for example, like the word alg, so the algorithm, so it's also used in OpenAPI, and it's used, for example, in the bearer security scheme. It is here in this turtle file, but at the same time, it is in the JSON schema of the specification. at the same time, it's inside the specification itself. So it's getting very messy at this point, where we have to maintain all of these kind of things. So if you go here, you find again this alt keyword and the values it can take. And of course, there is a JSON schema for all of that. So yeah, that was the problem. So we are basically maintaining a bunch of tools that are getting very messy at the moment. And we wanted to find a way to help make our lives easier. And that was the presentation last time, where we actually looked at a bunch of tools. By the way, this is our whole pipeline. I don't want to go into detail. It's very, very messy at the moment. So we have to do a lot of stuff. And we have to use, I don't know, GraphViz to generate UML diagrams, and there are GraphViz templates in the repository. And we looked at a bunch of tools. Maybe you know some of them: LinkML, 3LDR, Eclipse Semantic Modeling Framework, and the other ones. And what they are all doing is there is like another language. So all of them have their own language. And then they basically generate JSON schemas as one of the things. Some of them also generate like these ontology files. And I don't know, with the LinkML, you can use Mermaid to generate your UML diagrams on top of all of this. So yeah, it does a bunch of stuff basically. And we will probably pick this one. So that means we will not be writing JSON schemas manually anymore for the specification. But yeah, just look at the output. Maybe we do some post-processing to like fix the version fields, or I don't know, add some small things, but ideally we don't want to write it by hand anymore. Yeah, so my question in general, is this something that you see elsewhere, or this kind of like knowledge management in a way? I don't know how to really like call this. And in that meeting 2 weeks ago, there were a lot of opinions, but everybody's coming from the semantic web world with a lot of ontologies and so on. But I mean, the ontologies are used maybe 1/10 of the JSON schemas we have. So all of the opinions of the semantic web community is good, but I really want to see what is happening in the JSON schema community. And Juan, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, interesting that you bring up this topic again, because we've been talking to a lot of other organizations using JSON schema also in the context of ontologies. And the outcome of most of those discussions is like 100% exactly what you're saying. So I can definitely confirm you're not the only one. I've been hitting this exact same problem, mainly, for example, with Shackle. I think the triangle I've seen the most is JSON schema, Shackle, and Avro schema, right? And people are trying to go and like translate the same ideas over and over in all of these different, languages. And it is a huge, huge problem. There is no solution, though, as you probably have seen already, right? But I think there's definitely a space to do some. I'm mainly tackling a bit of the Avro schema work nowadays, so I've been working on that a bit, but not on the others.
Yeah. So like this triangle sort of is mentioned like here as well. So this was one of the presentations from a W3C step.
There we go.
Yeah, so like conceptual, logical, physical. At the same time, I mean, people think of JSON schema only for like JSON validation, but it's, in some cases for me, it's a bit more. So you can really model your data in a way. So, but anyways, so that's right. So everybody agreed on the problem. And of course, we can take a tooling and fix some stuff. But even if you take a tooling, there is still the whole versioning and packaging and so on is still a big, open, question. So I found some discussions for versioning of JSON schemas, but there is nothing agreed upon, and did other people hear about this kind of stuff? Or, Miguel?
Um, yeah. So again, yeah, similar to Juan, I've heard of similar, but similar like problem use case. But here, okay. So here's what I'm wondering, right? So for this problem to be solved, then let's pretend if there's a stable version, then for number one, then number two, the tooling falls into place, and then you have your problem solved. Does that sound right?
Sort of. Yeah, so like if we pick a tooling, they're all doing similar stuff in the end. So we can just pick a tooling and 80% of the problems are solved in a way. We were looking if there is like, I don't know, a need for a standard in some case, or like, yeah, so yeah.
So say Juan or Jason or Ben, I mean, so is this problem for everyone is going to be solved when there's a stable version that all the, or most of the tooling folks will follow? Is that, because that's what it sounds like to me, you know?
Do you mean stable version of JSON schema or?
Yeah. If there's a stable version of JSON schema, then,
it
if you build
reduces
the
the problem space. Yeah, it reduces the problem space, because now we could even assume that we should give different versions of JSON schema to different people. I mean, now there is the converter from Juan, and that's already good. But yeah, without that, you would need to provide multiple versions. But yeah, so JSON schema becoming stable is just solving one part of the problem. And yeah, so if we take the tooling, what I said, the 80% is solved, and the other part becomes the whole versioning, packaging, and serving schemas. So do you see more discussions in this for like, yeah, the versioning I think is a very concrete example. So I found two resources. One, I need to find it back. One is a discussion in JSON schema, and the other one is a document from Snowplow or something like this.
Yeah, it's a schema ver, right? Thing.
Yes, that one. Yeah.
So on the storing the schemas, another one that I can jump in because it's also an extension in some of my alter schema work and some of the work that I've done on the book. Ron and I, the authors of the book, we are actually actively working on a JSON schema registry. It's gonna be like an npm for JSON schema. It's gonna be open source at some point. We have some of it already working, some of it live though, probably not, enough to be decently presented, yet, but it is definitely coming. And that would at least solve the solution for JSON schema, and that's where we're also integrating Avro schema support, right? Because Avro schemas, even on top of Shackle, it is what people seem to be converting the most based on what we were able to tell. So there would be definitely from us at least something that you can either use a cloud version or self-host. Is distilling a lot of the practices that we're trying to convey in the book. So not that we're inventing anything new, but like more making that process easier. But I think you can still follow the same principles of how do you store and release schemas even with something else, right? Like for example, in the book we had a whole chapter discussing how you can publish a Cloudflare pages that would serve schemas in a correct, quote unquote way. So not very hard, to do it yourself, but hopefully there's gonna be some solution coming. But yeah, that's definitely in the works. In case that helps, I can keep you up to date if you want.
Yeah, it would definitely help. So I mean, until that is out there, we will basically go with either GitHub or npm, like GitHub pages or npm. But yeah, something purpose-built would be nice, at least for all the like bumping the version, publishing it, and keeping all the versions, and like this kind of things. Like that would be actually very good. Like also resolving dependencies of schemas and so
on. So I want to go back to the point you were making earlier, if I heard you correctly, on the versioning of the the version of the stable schema, if you look at the presentation, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a section there. I think Greg was talking about. We touched on that, the versioning strategy, right, Greg? Remember, it was the year and the number, something to that effect, right?
Yeah,
2024
there's
1 or something. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Thanks.
yeah, so we're gonna have multiple releases within a single version. And anytime there's a breaking change that we have to put in, which we'll try to avoid as much as possible. But anytime we include a breaking change, we'll increment the version number. And that will become part of the metaschema URL, metaschema URI rather, and every release will be associated with the version, but all the releases within a single version will be compatible.
My understanding is that we're talking about something different here, though. Like this is versioning of the specification, and if I understand correctly, the discussion is about versioning schemas.
Yes, those are two
Yes.
different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's also actually maybe still an open point of like versioning schemas with respect to the like meta schema version. So the discussions I found, they were not touching this. So like if you like bump your like schema from draft 7 to 2019, then how does the version follow? But yeah, so in any case, so this whole versioning point would be very good because we are going to make a decision, but it will probably predate any kind of specification text from JSON schema. I can also show this here. So this is the current discussion. It's a very early stage thing. So at least for the JSON schemas, we are basically going with so prereq means like any, and this is the W3C stable spec version, is to go with like something like this, like bump it up and so on, and then at some point we will need to add this plus notation that is used in some cases where you wanna say that this is the real version we have, but then it's based on this I'll say snapshot of the environment. Like, so you see this in like wrapper libraries. So if they are wrapping a library and the wrap library becomes this version here. So that means anybody who's interested more into learning what is happening, they will follow up on this. But so just as a small excerpt of how we will version that, but I think that's not super new anyways. Maybe just a question in that regard: is there anything planned to put a versioning guideline in the specification, or is it
not as far as schema
discussions?
versioning?
Okay.
Like we have the versioning for the spec itself, which as mentioned was just version and release number. But as far as managing schemas within your organization, the spec isn't going to be making any recommendations. One thing that I could see us potentially doing is having a page on the website that offers different approaches that we've seen in the wild, so that it can give some starting points for some people. But I don't even see us really recommending anything, because it really, in the end, it's just going to come down to how you want to organize that stuff for yourself. what makes sense for your particular application.
Also, my 2 pennies on that, like, but not only based on the book, but I think also on previous research. For example, schema-ver, they try to adapt, semantic versioning to schemas. But the thing is that JSON schema is pretty complex, right? And pretty expressive as well. And what I found, both, trying it out myself and also more recently talking to some other people who have been, attempting to do versioning on JSON schema in their organizations, it can get very complicated. And even with the schema-ver, even if you know the rules, it can be very complicated in practice to make sure that you are getting it right and you're expressing forwards and backwards compatibility correctly, even depending on what you mean. Because again, even for example, if you want to preserve compatibility in terms of annotations, then it's a whole other world, right? So it gets very complicated very quickly, and you're more likely than not to mess up on how you do a schema-ver. I think it sounds good on paper, but you have to know a lot about JSON schema to apply it correctly. So what we've been suggesting all along is for people to just use like a very basic versioning scheme, which is like, like a one number increment or like 1.1 at max or something like that, and not, stress too much over it. Otherwise, it gets too complicated, and if you get the versioning wrong, then more problem arises. So I think versioning software is easier than versioning JSON schema
Yes,
definitions.
that's also what I realized,
Yeah.
especially with the schema-ver, this whole point of like adding a new property being a breaking change is very counterintuitive to people. So I don't know if everybody is aware of this. Like,
Yeah,
if
I
you
don't
allow
agree with that
addition.
recommendation, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, so it makes sense, but it's very, I don't know, strict or something like this. So it's, yeah, also maybe since we see this a bit in W3C, I will also send maybe another link regarding this versioning, since some standardization organizations, they are putting like guidelines now themselves. So this is the link I sent. So it's they are sort of relevant in the US for like convenience stores and stuff like this, and they basically have a whole chapter on JSON schema versioning. I need to find it again, but it's this part. So page 10. Yes, if anybody is exactly this kind of thing. So that's they're also not like it's not the schema-ver, so it's closely aligned with the discussion in the JSON schema GitHub, but it's their thing they wrote from scratch. But yeah, anyway. Okay, so I guess going back to the original thing, so there is some discussion on this, at least from I mean that you caught up with one, but not more from others, right? So regarding this supporting multiple schema kind of languages.
I think, the problem also there, keep in mind that, again, coming back to JSON schema being complex enough that makes this kind of versioning complex as well. Usually JSON schema ends up also being more expressive than most of the other schema languages out there, which is, there's the strength of JSON schema. And that means, even if you can do transformations, for example, to other schema languages, like, for example, we're attempting to do that with Avro at the moment, there are a lot of JSON schemas that cannot be converted into Avro. And you might hit into some cases where if you have a schema that is complex enough, converting it into something else might not work at all. And there may be different ways to approach that. What we're trying to do at least is do like a best effort kind of thing, is that we're going to actually try to convert the schemas. If it's not a schema that we can convert, that will result in an error, and you should probably try to have a simpler schema. So convert whenever we can. But I think that's also another big asterisk, is that conversions from JSON schema to something else, very hard to do losslessly.
Yeah, it's so for us, I think we will never convert JSON schema to something else. I mean, other than TypeScript types kind of stuff. we will most probably always, like generate it from another model, so to say.
Well, but I mean, if that's what you want, then why are you facing the problem of storing schemas and versioning schemas if they're only the output of something else that is simpler? Maybe that
Because sometimes
puts you in a different path.
well, so sometimes the schema itself doesn't change, so like the other resources change, so your source of truth might change, but not the schema in some cases. And you need to have versioning based on the users, and the users, they don't care about this source of truth model.
But what I mean is that each JSON schema is always the output. Do you ever need to package and distribute JSON schema, or do you need maybe you
Yes.
distribute only one thing that eventually becomes JSON schema?
No, we have to distribute the output resources because that's what the people use. Like like the people who use JSON schema will never use, I don't know, shackle shapes, something like this, or this like source of truth. We wouldn't like ask people to generate the schemas themselves from that like ML definition.
Right.
Okay. And that's it from my side. But thank you already for the pointers, also to the Avro schema and so on.
Thanks, Ege. Any other comment? Okay, cool. So we didn't solve the problem, but I think it was a great discussion, and thank you for bringing the topic.
Yeah, no problem.
So we still have some time. So if someone wants to add any other topic or just use this moment, this is the time. Otherwise, I think that we will stop here.
So yeah, so I have a question, Ben. Ben. So back to this, to I guess point, does it look like the spec is headed in that direction to solve his problem and similar problem like others? With the, for example, with a stable spec, et cetera, are we taking the steps to eventually get close enough, or what?
I think the spec is only a small part of the problem, right? Based on
Right,
what I heard
right,
from Ege. I think
right.
what's lacking a lot is not the spec itself, but and I'm not sure if this is something that JSON schema wants to do or not, but maybe guidelines on using JSON schema in practice at scale. I think there are definitely some best practices here and there that are, best practices at the end of the day, or some patterns or anti-patterns. I think there is a scope to at least document and evangelize some of those maybe on the website, but I'm not sure how other people think. But yeah, but I think that's the core of the problem, I think.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So this schema being stable is going to solve a lot of other problems for me.
Right.
So a lot of thumbs up for that. Regarding evangelizing, I think the biggest problem, we have is like, it's not like a software, it's like really like API description that we're talking about. Like you give it away and you don't control other people's software anymore. So you have to make sure you don't break people's stuff when you just change some small things, and that's this kind of management. And with us, the whole thing gets frozen in time, so you cannot make any fixes to it later on. Then we will fix it like later on with this whole versioning and so on. But that's why it puts a bit of a pressure to make sure everything is like always aligned and so on.
Yeah, but overall, I think, more guidelines will help. Again, I don't think it's only Ege. I've been talking to a lot of people, and they are all very confused on how they adopt JSON schema at scale in their organizations. That's a very common. a common problem, right? So at least, you know, something would even if it's not perfect, would already reduce a lot of confusion.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea because so far in the documentation we have like good enough content for help people to understand how to use JSON schema or getting started, right? And we started to put some documentation to also help implementers, but that specific space for using JSON schema at scale is totally missing. So sounds
Right.
great. And we have an issue with a proposal of documentation strategy with different releases that as soon as we have people contributing and resources, we are going to push to get them done. And I think this is something that we can add to that issue and also prioritize. Yeah, and we are going to participate in Google Season of Docs. So maybe, I mean, we have a lot of things to fix in our docs, but maybe this is something that we can start thinking about if we are lucky enough to get selected this year. So yeah,
Yeah. So
action
maybe
item.
maybe what I'll do is I mean, I'm not a consultant, so I don't talk to like hundreds of customers, etc. So different developers at different places here and there. So what I'll do is I'll just create an issue and just put my feedback of how I think I've done it at scale, meaning 100+ developers, a certain organization. This is what we've done, blah, 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 blah. Maybe we could start collecting feedback like that. Then you guys are more experts. Maybe we can start to refactor it to something that starts to look like some guidelines, and maybe go from there and tie it up to that discussion that you're talking about. And I mean, so.
Sounds great to me. So thanks, Miguel.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Any other comment before finalizing the session for today?
Maybe on another topic, so I haven't, so this whole specification lifecycle, I haven't read the discussion yet, but this discussion will become like, I don't know, a README or part of the website, or yeah, like this first comment basically. So I mean again.
Yeah, eventually there will be some formal document where we define this whole thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because there is some of you are also there.
Sorry, I don't know exactly what form that's going to take at this point, but that is the plan. It'll be some formal document, just defining it.
Okay. Yeah, you are also in this W3C like issue discussion with like what is the W3C's strategy for relying on JSON schema, because multiple specs are referring to it, but they cannot refer to it normatively, and they always have to make a compromise, or like with us have to copy paste the whole thing, almost the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that will be solved with the new process and the new release. So, but unfortunately, we won't be able to fix that retroactively. But that's how it is.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I think that it has been a very interesting conversation, discussion. So thanks, everyone, for the contributions. And looking forward to continue what we just discussed about this opportunity to create that issue, to discuss the strategies to scale JSON schema, and let's see how everything progress. So thanks, everyone. and have a great rest of the day, and let's continue discussing in GitHub and Slack. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.